brief introductions. I'm long day, I can't multitask. There we go. Welcome and good evening, everyone. I'm Brian with Engage Winona, and we're really pleased to have everybody here. This is the final workshop of this Lived Experience Leaders series that we've had that started way back in February. And is focused on all these topics on folks looking to both lead community change, but then also sort of sustain and support themselves as change makers, which is really where Kathy's kind of conversation is with us tonight. This is part of a program we have called Lived Experience Leaders, which is a cohort leadership program for folks with all kinds of diverse lived experiences who have these just powerful experiences and journeys and want to translate those into leading change. And Kathy is a rock star member of that group, and we're so pleased that she's here with us today. And this workshop series actually emerged organically from this group, from folks sort of asking both with invitations to have other community folks kind of teach some content, but then also an opportunity for our lived experience leaders to be able to share their expertise with the community. And as just kind of a brief Zoom etiquette, and as Kathy has asked, so folks, we know video is your choice. If you're comfortable with video and want to use it, great. If not, that's no problem too. We know this is a long day and Zoom fatigue is a very real thing. Kathy has sort of invited it to be fairly organic, and so I think if folks can use, there's a couple different options or reactions to raise your hands, or you can offer questions in the chat as we go. I know Kathy's going to engage folks in conversation as we go. And then, boy, I think did I cover it all? Oh, the final thing is that so this is a free and freely available workshop, and we're also accepting free will donations, and that's just 100% of that goes to Kathy's really exciting nonprofit, Let's Erase the Stigma. So I'll share that link in the chat. It's a link to Engage Winona, but everything that comes through tonight will go right to Kathy and all the really cool work she's doing. So I think with that, I will turn it over to you, Kathy. I think other than simply describing you as a rock star and just doing this amazing work and went on for so long and helping so many, my appreciation for all the work you've done and having like no perfect words to give an introduction to the depth of experience you have and all that you've done. No introduction I could do would do that any justice. So I will just simply turn it over to you. And welcome, and just to be an appreciation and looking forward to their conversation together. So over to you, Kathy.
Well, welcome everyone. Thank you, Brian, so much. And I want you to know this is very impersonal. If you need to get up and move around, just feel free to. If you have any questions, I am reserving some time at the end for questions. Feel free to use the chat, to ask questions as well. Again, I want this to be interactive as we talk about this, because I don't know anyone that has not been affected by COVID. So I want you to just think about some of the things that you've gone through over this past year plus. And with thinking about self-care, I came up with some things that I thought might work. Has everyone been affected by COVID in one way or the other when it comes to self-care? Okay. All right. So in talking about self-care, I think one of the things, which there is several that's quite important, is the balance, because our jobs came into our homes and our children's schools came into our homes. Some of the parents were expected to be teachers, and it's hard to work a job from your living room when you have your children like, mommy, and excuse me, for us that don't have children, it's hard to really take your job seriously from your home. So some of what I learned right away was not to do Zoom in my pajamas, especially when it was a professional meeting. I had to comb my hair. So, but those are not things that you really think about. You don't think about getting up, dressing up to look at a computer screen. In doing that, one of the things that I think we benefit from when it comes to self-care is balance. And that's a balance amongst a lot of areas in our life. Balance means that we have to identify some of our priorities. And that I think is not a universal thing. I think that's very personal when it comes to thinking about balance. Some of the areas that I have are higher power. Some people feel like that is their main source of energy, that is their main source of how they set their schedule. And again, these are not for each person to do, or these are not areas that each person, has in a set order of priority, but I think it touches each person's life. Um, the second one is self. If you're not in balance with yourself, I don't know how effective it is to take care of yourself. So if you are emotionally or mentally or spiritually or physically drained, I don't know how you can take care of yourself without one of the other areas in your life suffering. So when I speak to this balance, I'm speaking to each one of these areas in your life. Um, did anyone feel like throughout this COVID and when the school came into the home or when the job came into your home, did you find that hard to manage in terms of time? Being an employee, being a supervisor, being an instructor, being a wife, being a mom, did you find it a little bit difficult to balance this out even though you were at home? Okay, I can't hear you, but okay. Um, and then we'll go on to the next one, which is family. Um, Family is not always blood, but there are people in your life that have to take precedence when it comes to this family issue. And then when it comes to this balance issue, that being if you're married, your spouse is probably first. And if they had a job that brought them into the home, the communication probably was a little bit, I don't know, challenging is what I'll say. Then you have your children to think about, and then you have extended family to think about. And I believe that when COVID first hit, it was really hard for me to take it serious. Like, you know, what do you mean we can't go to the store? I think the toilet paper issue really brought it home. You know, I don't know though that that would have been the first thing I'd have been thinking about going to get toilet paper. So I didn't even believe that this was real until I saw the shelves here at Walmart. People were taking pictures, the toilet paper was gone. And I guess my mom always taught me a staple was potatoes, so I was thinking more about, are there potatoes on the shelf? Is there flour? So the toilet paper thing kind of threw me. But what I did enjoy seeing was people that were getting toilet paper for family members. So that kind of ties into that priority piece. I don't know that you can find balance without prioritizing what's important in your life. Another one was other people. Where do other people fall into the balance of what it is that you're doing? Because I think it's very important to have other people involved in your life. When it comes to stress and being able to talk to people and being able to share what it is that you're going through. And honestly, I think Facebook was probably the last thing I thought about in terms of priority because everybody became a COVID expert. Everybody became a doctor. Everybody was just, I was watching videos on how to sanitize the groceries that you got from the store. So it was like, it was a whole new world. So finding ways to take care of yourself without the opinions of other people was really hard because we did call on other family. We did ask our husbands or wives, what do you think we should do? And again, I mean, if we were not paying attention to that, I don't know that we were taking care of ourselves because I believe it was new to many people. I had never lived through a pandemic, and I don't know how many other people had. And so, even when you got past all of that with your priorities and trying to find balance, there was the things. Where did you go to take care of your car? Everything was closed. What if you needed an oil change? Everything was closed at one point. So it was difficult to prioritize with places that weren't even open and services that weren't available. Um, Restaurants, if you weren't big on cooking, you were in trouble. And so then cooking had to become one of those priorities, which honestly, I don't know if I ever even would put that on my list, but it was a thing that I now needed to do. I needed to, learn how to shop early in the morning. I needed to realize that there was a curfew. This was real. And so that all added to throwing me off balance. So I had to take the things that were important to me that needed to be prioritized and try to find some balance. Having people drop me off food and toiletries and things like that. I mean, you learn quick that you have to ask for help. So that's not on my list of being balanced either, because balancing for me is, and I don't know about you, but balancing for me is not having to ask for anything. So it was difficult to learn how to prioritize what I could have access to, because at that point, if you didn't have the priorities that you needed to function, it was really a mental health issue at that point, because when you don't have necessities like food, shelter, and clothing, then I don't even know how you can find balance. So that is one of the ways that I thought people would need to start taking care of themselves, by utilizing what they had in their kitchen, realizing that, what we knew is our normal was no longer our normal. And I believe we're still dealing with some of that. So it's important for us to identify still what our priorities are. It was about creating time for the things you must do and the things you like to do, because a lot of what we like to do, we could not do. Some of the things that we needed to do, we could not do. So I feel like one of the important aspects of taking care of ourselves and being balanced is considering every aspect of our life. And I feel like COVID thrust us into that. It did not prepare us for that. We were thrown into learning how to take care of ourselves by having to identify our priorities. Um, were we given time to people that mattered the least? So did we find ourselves when we were in our homes in situations where we had to consider our supervisor, because we had to have a job in order to support this madness? So how did we balance out who we gave our time to? It's easy to say you can work from home, but it's another situation when you have a toddler or a child saying, "Mommy, mommy, mommy," in the middle of a board meeting. So how much, how much pressure did that add to us? So we had to figure that out. So that was yet another area that we had to find balance in and prioritize. I heard a saying that said, bringing the events of your life into alignment with what's most important to you, and you have a right to inner peace. So when you found yourself trying to juggle all these things, now the when you think of balance, you think of a 2 scale. But when you think of balance during COVID, you think of juggling 6 or 7 balls, because that's actually what you were doing. You had to become a juggling act with things that were important to you, that you were able to wake up in the morning at one point, leave the house. Your kids were able to get up and go get on a school bus, but now all this was in the house. So it was important, and it's still important to find the balance in these areas. Another area that I feel is important for self-care is organization. And so you're organizing the areas in your life that you've identified as a priority. So With organization, I feel it's important to be proactive, plan ahead. So now that we have a little bit more freedom with things that are open, there's still a lot of things that aren't open. So proactive would kind of look like if your child is doing hybrid schooling in some days of the week, out, at home some days of the week, because I think at this point we figured out how to navigate through the house. So being proactive on the days that they are going to be home so that they are occupied during the times that you might have a meeting. Uh, Organization, I think, increases efficiency. And so this is something that I was prior to COVID, I have to admit. So I would say just self-care as a whole, if you are organized, it kind of makes you a little bit better at being efficient. Example, because so many of our lives now are on the computer, um, when you're organized on your computer, you're prepared. So it's not putting everything on your desktop. It's making folders for everything that you are working on, because when you put things on your desktop, your computer crashes. Or like with me, prior to having this Zoom training, my internet went out. I couldn't sign in to Microsoft, but these are all things that I thought to check ahead of time. And I was on the phone with someone and I'm like, you know what? Everything that can go wrong is going wrong right now. So by being proactive, I didn't wait until like 10 to 6 to say, let me see if I can, sign in to Zoom. I ended up having to call HBC in a full meltdown. I have a workshop at 6 o'clock and it's 5 o'clock. And so I just think with me being organized the way that I was able to head that off at the pass. So it was a hurdle, it was a big hurdle. And by me being organized, it kind of helped. It helps also to use labels. So when I'm working on folders, I don't know anybody that has not saved something and then couldn't go and find it. So try to label things where it's easily accessible to you, on your computer. If you were bringing like boxes and files, say your file cabinet came to your home in the middle of COVID, you want to label those folders and those boxes and those files in a manner that they're easily accessible to you. Trust me, it just makes you inhale and exhale a whole lot better. Um, be respectful of your time. Be respectful of other people's time. This Zoom, this new world of Zoom, I think it's kind of made some people lax, me being one of those people. But I just try to set an alarm, because honestly, if I don't set an alarm for meetings prior, I'll miss them. My alarm will go off and it'll be like, okay, I know I have this coming, but I try to set the alarm enough, like 20 minutes away, so I do have some time to prepare, because I don't think of meetings and Zoom. I don't even think still of everything being virtual. I'm still getting used to it even today, that when somebody calls me and says, Kathy, can you meet? I automatically think that that is going to be an in-person meeting. So I would really say be respectful of your time, because it just decreases some of the stress that comes with, not being organized, not having things prioritized. I also utilize, and I think is a good tool for self-care, is a calendar. A calendar kind of sets the tone um, by giving you a visual look at your day. So when you get up in the morning, I say the last thing you should do is grab your phone, period. So I wouldn't grab it at all, but if you grab it and you look at social media, that's even worse, because you intend to just look and then you find yourself responding. And then 20 minutes later, it's like, oh, I got to get out of here. I got something to do. But if you look at your phone and look at your calendar. It kind of really does give you a visual for where you have some space in the day for just you, where you might have some space in the day to, grab some shopping or grab a cup of coffee. So if you wake up in the morning, you say, hey, let me look at how my day is going to go. And I try to look at it actually the night before, because I'm one of those people that feel like my day is a lot better if I cook or I have something to eat prior to, me starting my day. But looking at my calendar kind of lets me know with my first conversation, if somebody asks me, Kathy, can you get together? And I can honestly tell them, yes or no, either I can do it or I can't, but I know what I'm doing for the day. The next self-care tip, which I think is huge, is learning how to say no without an explanation. And for so many of us, we say no, but we have to give this long, explanation about why we, can't do this. The inability to say no, plain and simple, is people pleasing. And when you are pleasing others, you are not taking care of yourself. So the inability to say no also interferes with your ability to set healthy boundaries. And I think it's difficult to say no to people that you feel are your friends and, that call on you the most, or your supervisor who wants you to come in and do overtime on Saturdays. And you've already said this Saturday, you've already told the children, I'm not going to go in. And then you get that phone call. And so, in sharing, I will say that when you say yes to something that you really don't want to do, it builds resentment. When you say yes, when you want to say no, uh, you're saying yes because you might fear rejection, and you fear that rejection from the people that you think need you the most. But I also find it that when you're unable to tell people no, you are rescuing people from something that maybe they need to learn how to do themselves. I think it's kind of unhealthy when you allow people to rely on you for things that they could possibly do for themselves. So when you say no, mean what you say what you mean, and mean what you say. And the key to saying no without an explanation is being clear, but being nice. Meaning, if you ask me to do something that I really don't want to do, I don't want to just say, no, I'm not doing that. But I really appreciate you thinking about me. I really appreciate you considering me, but I am not available to do this. I'm unable to do this, or I'm not going to do this, but do it in a manner in which the person doesn't necessarily go away offended. Although you're going to have people that have dominant personalities that are not going to accept no, then they're going to ask you why. You know, and so at that point, you have to either make a decision that you are going to start the explanation process, or just say, I am not able to do this. Period. I do again appreciate you considering me, but I'm just unable to do this. It does not fit in my schedule. I just can't do it. And so a lot of times I find that difficulty most with family, when they call and it's like, I know I should have called and gave you some time, but I really need you to do this for me. And so again, I love you, but I'm not going to be able to do it. So it's essential, I believe, in the prioritizing process that I talked about in the beginning. If you are unable to say no to people, then the other people become priority in that list of your priorities. So, not being able to say no really interferes, like I said again, with you being to prioritize your life. Are you really wanting to say yes, because if you don't want to say yes and you do it, you feel all kinds of yuck inside, and you're doing it with an attitude like, I should have just said no, because now you're unhappy, and it spills over into the schedule that you had looked at that morning. Like, I have some time to do this, or I might have a little time to shop, or I've looked online and I saw something on sale at Target or Macy's, and I'm gonna run over there. So when someone asks you to do something in the time that you've set aside for yourself, you've just thrown yourself out of balance completely. So it can actually ruin your day, honestly. So if you don't learn how to prioritize your life, somebody else will. Because what ultimately ends up happening is when people know, and people do know because it's something that's innate to us, manipulation that would be. So when people know that helping and rescuing is a part of your character, that is what they're going to tell themselves when they call to ask you, like, I know them, it's in them, they're gonna help me no matter what. I just have to get the sob story right, even if it's not a sob story. I just have to tell them the right thing, and they're going to help me because that's who they are. So this is a point in which, you know self care is really important. You should never be guilted into saying yes, because again, it's going to take away from you. Another area of self care I feel is important is being authentic. Be yourself, and that's difficult for a lot of people pleasers. That's difficult for people that are trying to take care of themselves. And I say that in the manner in which you don't have to tell a person everything that's going on in your medical file. You don't have to give them a resume of, who you are. This is why I got this way. This is why I do this. Just be yourself. And either people are going to like you for who you are, or they aren't. I tend to believe that people that can accept you for who you are the people that will respect who you are. Know how to say no, because that is part of being authentic, knowing how to say no and knowing when to say no. When, again, saying yes interferes with you, you're out of balance. Own your stuff, be accountable. If you make a mistake, I made a mistake. You know, if someone asks you something that you know nothing about, I really don't know about that. And that again is a part of being yourself. Try to steer clear away from the victim mentality. You asked me to do this and I didn't have a clue what I was doing, but I did it anyway because you asked me. If you don't know, just admit that you don't know. Um, I feel like it's important with self care to treat everybody with respect. And this was a tender moment for me because we cannot ignore what's going on in the world today. And I think a lot of that has to do with the lack of respect. If we can treat people the way that we want to be treated, then I think we wouldn't be in this tumultuous season of what we are all witnessing and what we are all going through. And whether it hits your home or not, I don't know a person that's not affected by it. And when we think about in terms of being authentic, if we can respect people without feeling the need to change people, we would be in a better place. If I know you and we hang out together and you express how you feel with the COVID, you don't want to wear a mask. I believe in wearing a mask. How do we meet in the middle? For me, when I'm around people that don't believe that COVID is real and they are unmasked, and I am masked, I ask them to stand 6 feet away from me. We're not hugging. We're not fist bumping. We're not doing any of that because I have to be true to who I am. What I ask if I'm in a group of people that don't believe and you have those that believe, I just ask that you be honest with me. If you are living reckless, or if you, and I'm going to take that back, if you are doing you with reference to COVID and you're just out here without a mask because you know what, I don't believe in that. So I'm hanging out at the bars in Wisconsin unmasked. I haven't got it. I'm always around people and I haven't got it. I just ask you when you invite me to something to be honest about who you've been around. I'm not going to throw shade at you. I'm not going to recite the CDC guidelines for COVID. I'm not going to do any of that. I am going to tell you that it is Kathy's responsibility to take care of Kathy, and I choose to wear a mask, and I choose not to be around you if you don't want to wear a mask. So I've never understood why people get so angry with other people about their choices. So being authentic is respecting another person's choice to live how they want to live without reciting the 10 commandments and without trying to change them. Just accept them for who they are. Hopefully they'll accept you because you have a choice. And that choice is you can either decide to be in their space, share their space, or you can choose not to. You can choose a safer environment. So that's what I mean when I say treat everyone with respect. We should try to steer against shaming people for their choices. And people in doing this would probably feel a little bit better at being authentic with sharing who they really are. And maybe that would do away with some of this fakeness because we are dealing with a lot of fake. We don't even know if the news is real anymore. So that is just how we as a society have gravitated towards. So if you find someone that is real and genuine, try to reciprocate that. Um, Respect other people's time. And that is a pet peeve of mine. If you make an appointment or someone makes an appointment with you, I think it's your responsibility to tell them, I am very time conscious. Um, I will respect your time and I would hope that you would respect mine. And being a respecter of time is if you have a 6 o'clock dinner with someone and you know the place that you're going is 15 minutes away and you leave at 10 to 6, I don't think it's right for you to think, oh, I'm only going to be 5 minutes late. It's okay. I would be the person to call and say, hey, I'm 15 minutes away. It's 10 minutes to 6. I'm probably going to be 5 minutes late. Because again, when you don't respect other people's time, it backs their day all the way up. And then 5 minutes makes them 5 minutes late for their next meeting. And it just backs your schedule up. And I'm not saying this thinking that this is easy. I think this is learned behavior. My mother taught me if you take something from somewhere, put it back where it came from. So, you know, I have to relate that to time. Be respectful of other people's time by paying attention to what time it is. If this workshop was at 6 and everybody signed on at 6:30, that would have backed us up a little bit. So I just think that's a rule of thumb of self-care. And it just builds who you are as a person, because people will know if I invite Kathy to be somewhere at 6 o'clock, I know Kathy to be on time. She's going to be there, or she's going to call and let me know. So I would say, with being authentic, never assume that it's going to be okay. Ask and be yourself. Another part to being authentic, I think, is following your heart. Jump off the ledge. Get outside of your comfort zone. So I don't mean jump off the ledge literally. I'm going to speak to, if you want to do something, or you have a dream, or you aspire to do something, take the leap, take a chance. And sometimes I think we are our worst critics. We talk ourselves out of obtainable goals, and we just don't want to do any of the work to move forward. If you take one step, you would be amazed at just sharing what is in your heart, how people will just fall into your path to help you, obtain that goal. So follow your heart, because by following your heart, you're being authentic to yourself. Everything about self-care, the key word is self. So if you practice these tips with yourself, you'll get there. Rome was not built in a day. I always share what my age is. I'm 62. I set on my dream for 8 years because I talked myself out of it. I had 10,000 different excuses. I think we all have a bag of, why you can't, but take a chance on yourself, because it starts with self, and people join you. And at the end of the day, it'll end with self. I don't care if you start and you don't get there for 8 years like Kathy, you can still get there. So it's all about, when I say self-care, it's all about self-care. Some of the tools that I think are important to use uh, with self-care, number one on the list for me is attitude. It's difficult to have a positive attitude in so many negative areas. Or in the world right now might be viewed by some people as one big negative right now. But again, this is about you. It's about self. It's about your environment. So it's about your car. A big one for me is music. If you wake up and you are feeling negative, or you are feeling down, or say you look at your calendar and then two of the people that you woke up early to meet cancel, okay, how can you turn that around? I don't know. um, you could fix a big breakfast. You could think, oh, I've got some extra time. That shopping that you were going to do in the afternoon, you could, hey, let me run out. The stores are usually empty in the morning. You can call a friend. Shopping early morning for me is just the bomb.com. You go in Walmart at 7 or 8, nobody's in there. The shelves are stocked. So, it's just little things. What excites you. What makes you happy. I like to dance, dance, dance. I'll turn on the TV and turn on the YouTube and just dance like, really nobody's watching. But then, some people might be, but it's just the little things. For me, it might be, instead of having a bowl of cereal, I'm going to make bacon and eggs this morning. I'm going to make pancakes. I'm going to make a waffle. So it's all in how you ingest what's going on around you. But your attitude, when I tell you, it will make or break you. It will make or break a good day. Your attitude will determine where you go in life. If it will determine what doors open for you. If you're known as a negative, people probably aren't going to invite you. You know what I'm saying? Nah, I don't want to invite her to this. You will find yourself hearing about certain things, and it's like, well, dang, they didn't invite me. Well, maybe, it has something to do with your negative attitude. I was having issues with a young supervisor at a job, and I thought this was all about him, not respecting me, for the elder or the older adult that I am. And I shared it with someone, and their advice to me was you need to go home and look in the mirror and think about what it is that you need to change about you instead of sitting here telling me what the supervisor needs to change. And that was probably some of the hardest, harshest advice that I had received, because it's like, you're telling me that I need to go look at me, that I'm the reason why he's treating me this way. And in all honesty, it really was. I showed up with a bad attitude. I thought I knew it all. I thought I deserved respect that I did not earn. And as I opened up my mouth and asked him, what can I do to learn more about the job that I'm in? Our whole relationship changed, because he allowed me and took me alongside of him and showed me the areas that he was basically giving me constructive criticism in, but I was wounded by that. So my attitude determined how our relationship went from that point on. I'm no longer at that job, but they tell me every time I go visit them, you just say the word and we'll hire you back right now. So attitude kind of determines where we go in life. And then also take the first step. Don't always wait on the person who you feel you have offense with to come to you. Go to them. It's tied into forgiveness. Forgive the offense, because there's nothing worse than going to a job 8 hours and you're all swole up. You're all pouty, you got a bad attitude. You go in there, you put down your lunch in the refrigerator, and you put your drink on your desk, your coffee, and then you have that aura about yourself. Don't ask me anything today. You put in your headphones, which say to everybody, ooh, I don't think we should say anything to her today. I could just tell, morning, not good morning, morning. So if you don't think that your body language plays a part in your attitude, wrong. It genuinely does. You know, it's difficult to work with people that you have to test the waters on, so you never know what you're walking into. And it's doubly worse when you have a supervisor like that. Oh, I wonder what mood she's in today. Bring the joy. You know what I'm saying? Hey, how you doing? Good morning. You know what I'm saying? Like my mom used to tell me, make them speak to you. Hey, so you can honestly be instrumental in the attitudes of other people. Another tool is rest. Get some good sleep. That's probably the hardest thing. If I'm not the 3 a.m. wake up person, oh my goodness. And I feel like the gopher on the wheel, like I've got 10,000 thoughts. And so I have cried and asked, what can I do to stop this? So what I do, I go to music. I put on some soothing music or the rainforest, something that will allow me to get back to sleep. It's always going to be a bad day if at 3 or 3:30 I wake up and I hit that remote and turn on the TV. Cuz there I am watching different movies, and you just never get the proper rest, and you might have a full day. So try to find out when your sleep is interrupted what you can do to get it back. Um and sleeping isn't the thing. Are you getting genuine rest? Experts say that as an adult, you need 9 to 10 hours of sleep. If I slept 9 to 10 hours, I wouldn't get anything done. So I have to totally agree with that. So, at least 6, I would say, but whatever works for you, where you can wake up and you feel refreshed, like you can have the positive attitude to start this day and work through your calendar. Another tool is eating right. If you are not eating healthy and you're not giving yourself the proper fuel, how do you anticipate functioning at all? If you aren't giving yourself what you need to have that brain power, it's going to be a long day. If you're one of those people that get up and it's like, I'm going to have a bottle of water, I'll have a couple of snacks in about 2, 3 hours. Well, by 12 o'clock, you're going to be famished. You're going to have a hunger headache. And you know what? When you eat, you're going to be sluggish. So it's like, try to set a routine for eating on eating healthy, number one, but getting up, fueling your body, fueling your spirit, fueling your mind. Another tool is meditation. Now, a lot of people think that meditation is being quiet. I will probably totally agree. Meditation for me is music. Meditation can be taking a long walk, where it's just you and your thoughts and what you have to do. Sometimes it's just thinking about what you can take off your plate. If you wake up and you look at your schedule and you have meetings from 8 to 4, it's going to be a long day, because how do you fit in these other tools? How do you fit in your food? How do you fit in a positive attitude when you're going from screen to meeting, and then it's like, okay, you're just burnt out. So what happens at the end of the day? Who gets the lesser part of you? Who gets the negative energy? Who gets the non-quality time? They just get, time that you're just putting in. Hi, I'm cooking, I had a bad day, I was on the computer, I just don't feel like this tonight, and so who gets that? The people in the house with you get that. Your friends get that, so try to figure out. For me, meditation is playing, going out to play. Hey, I had a long day, do you want to go over the mangoes? Do you want to do something, anything? You want to walk the lake? You want to walk the short lake? Or maybe it's just decompressing from the day. Maybe when you get off that Zoom call at 4 o'clock, and this was told to me, you just stay in your area or your office, your room with the door shut, and just exhale and get yourself ready, your attitude ready, your mind ready to walk out the door and be with your family in a positive light. You know, Tell them, I'm done with work, but give me about 15 minutes. How about we go to Dairy Queen? How about you have some ice cream cones and ice cream in the freezer? Do you feel like making a homemade banana split? Hey, how about we do that puzzle? What would you like to do? Try to share that decompressing time with what you can give to your family, because your family is priority. So it's all in trying not to go from one thing to the next thing to the next thing to the next thing, because with each thing that you go to and you don't do anything for yourself, it's draining that battery. So kind of look at it like, with each area that you have not prioritized in, put a rock in your pocket. So if you start putting rocks in your pocket at 8 in the morning, how many rocks are you going to have in your pocket at 4? And you're going to be way down. And it's going to be reflective in your attitude, in your mood. And again, you make yourself non approachable. If not for your coworkers, you make yourself non-approachable for your family, and that's just something that you probably don't want to do. um Another tool: healthy friends. Healthy friends, honest friends. Have friends that'll call you on your stuff and be honest with you. You know what? You have just been a grouch for the last X amount of days. You know what I'm saying? What is going on with you? Have friends that can tell you about yourself. You know what? I've been listening to you for 30 minutes and all you've been doing is complaining. What are you doing for yourself? Have friends that'll challenge you to go towards your goals. Have friends that will pull you out of your comfort zones, but definitely have friends that can be honest with you, and you can respect that honesty without attitude, without getting mad at them. Even if it means, you know what, I'm gonna let you have that attitude. Call me tomorrow. when you're feeling better, because true friends are going to recognize, you know what? Thank you for calling me on my stuff. You are absolutely right. This is what's going on. And validate what they're feeling. Again, don't try to change what they're feeling. Validate. I understand that you feel the way that you feel. And when you do that, you make them aware. And then you also give them the opportunity to recover from what it is, from that bad attitude. Don't tell them not to act that way. Just be honest with them with how they're acting. Validate their feelings, because telling somebody you shouldn't feel that way, and we as friends will do that in a minute. I don't understand why you feel that way. You shouldn't be feeling like this. No, I hear what you're saying, because that's when your listening skills kick in. I hear exactly what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. What you're feeling is real to you. And so validate what they are feeling and be there when they become aware of what they're feeling, so that they can recover again from what it is that they're feeling. Just be honest as a friend and become a good listener. And last but not least is laughter. What we do for fun means everything. How do you play? So, is playing, going somewhere, taking a trip? Playing could be walking the lake. But if we are not gathering with those healthy and honest friends, if we're not making time for those healthy and honest friendships, what are we doing? How are we playing? Make time to have fun. Make time to do things that make you feel good. For me, I make time for my friends that love to eat, because I'm a connoisseur of food. I love food. And so that has been difficult, because not all of my friends want to be in a restaurant. So, how do we do that? Well, the weather's getting better now. Let's go kick it in the backyard. Let's barbecue. Let's get on the patio. Let's go places where we can practice. Let's make a circle on the lake 6 feet away from each other. Bring your own sandwich, bring your own drink, so we're not exchanging things. But if you don't play as hard as you work, you're out of balance. So find those things that mean something to you. Go up to the Twin Cities, go to La Crosse, get a hotel for the weekend, if that's possible, if you have friends that are willing to do that with you. But definitely try to find your happy place in these times of COVID. And honestly, try not to let it be a bottle of alcohol. It's okay to drink. I'm not saying that, I'm not shaming at all. But if we rely on chemicals and alcohol to get us through this, we're going to have some difficulties on the other side when we really open up. And even if you are doing that, find someone to validate that. But they can't validate what you're feeling if you're not being honest about what you're feeling. So I hope this was helpful. And I'm going to open it up for questions. So you'll have to unmute yourself. And it ended quicker than what I anticipated. But if you want to share anything, I mean, I can go through the comments.
Yeah, Kathy, I think that's a great idea. I was going to suggest there's some great comments in the chat that are also really questions too. You know, how do you learn how to shut down at night? How do you kind of struggling with the working from home hours? So yeah, there's great content in there.
Okay, so I'm going to speak to some of the comments. It's hard to shut down. So my question would be, when you say it's hard to shut down, is it hard to shut down from your employment? Is it hard to shut down from your family? Is it hard to shut down emotionally? Is it hard to shut down mentally? What is hard for you to shut down from? Your job? So you can answer that on the chat. I'm not using names at all. Um, And one of the people said their self-care was when their kids were at school. That's probably the biggest right there, because now the free time that you thought you had, you don't have. So that might look like trying to incorporate your children in an activity that would be exciting to all of you all. That might look like playing a game, because there's no getting away from your children in the middle of a pandemic when you're all trapped in the house. That might look like devices in some houses, like, do you want to get on your tablet? Here, do you need my phone? And that might not be the right thing, but that's a difficult area for me to speak to, because I don't have little kids, but I would like anyone that I'll challenge anyone that does have children at home to share how they utilize their time with their kids being at home. So nobody felt that their kids took away from their self-care. Everybody was okay with that. Okay.
And Kathy, you may not have caught it in the chat, but Carrie actually had to leave because she said
Oh,
she was struggling with her kids.
oh, okay. That's okay. Um, I have a comment here that says, I feel guilty for not working the exact same amount of hours as I did when I was going to a workspace outside of my home. Well, um, I would say I probably would have felt great about that, but I can see where that's a difficulty, just being authentic here. Um, I can see how that happened with a lot of people, because you're at home. You know what I'm saying? You can click the button, have your name on the screen, and be in the kitchen doing something totally different. It's hard to consider yourself at work from your living room when you're on the couch, when you can lay down and literally, look at the computer. So I would intentionally make myself stand up. I would intentionally get up. I don't know if you do this. I would intentionally get up, get dressed, and try as much as I could to mimic the exact routine that I did when I was in the office. It might, when you were in the office, if you drank coffee, you would fix your coffee in the office. Maybe, you would go around and say hi. No, there's people that you can say hi to, but you can intentionally get on your phone and say good morning to people. So it's hard, because I think at work, there's structure when you're going into the building. On the computer, there's structure, but not as much structure as it is when your supervisor is across, the office, or across the way, or maybe even in a different building. The atmosphere when you're going into the office is, a lot of times your coworkers are watching you. So, it adds that structure. So I can understand where you would feel guilty, because you feel like you aren't doing as much work, because in all honesty, unless you're on the screen all day, you aren't doing as much work. But you and your coworkers are probably in the same position, depending on what your responsibilities and duties are at that time. So I can see uh, how you honestly felt that way, because it's hard not to feel that way, because you're in your house and you feel like you're slacking. I've seen pictures where people were in business suits from the neck down, in their pajama bottoms and slippers, from the waist down. So it's hard not to, feel like, I'm slacking. But I don't know that it's much that you can do that outside of knowing it's within you that you are doing your work, that you are putting in the amount of hours that are required. Now, I don't believe that there's any such thing as an 8 to 5, but when you're going into the office, you can show up at 7:30, you can leave at 5:30 or 6. That's hard to do, from your living room. So if you know that, or you feel that you're giving your job your best during these times, allow your best to be good enough and try not to guilt yourself, too bad, but you have to validate those feelings of guilt because that's what you're feeling. The next question is, okay, no second. Someone was saying they struggle with that. That's a great idea. I don't know where that came in at in the middle. Okay, this has been okay. Um, wish this would have come out last year when we were in it. True. I agree with you. Question is, how do I create better boundaries with some of my colleagues at work? I've noticed that one of my colleagues is always late to our meetings. Once they arrive, there's always an excuse and a mild apology. How do I respectfully inform this person that my time is valuable? There's no other way than to pull them to the side and say, my time is valuable. I wouldn't um shame them into saying, "Hey, have you noticed that you're late every time for every meeting? You always come in with an excuse." I would ask them, "Can I talk with you? And I really appreciate you showing up for the meeting, but the meeting basically started at X amount of time, and my time is valuable. I'm not saying that your time isn't valuable, but it helps me if these meetings that we're attending can start, if especially if it's just you and them. Is it you? I guess I'll ask you to answer that. Is it you and just the colleague, or you and other people? Because I don't feel like that weight should be strictly on you if it's other people, but if it's you and that individual, I think they deserve a one-on-one, because it's not going to change until you say something. It's like the person that comes in 10 minutes early and feels like, I came in 10 minutes early so I can leave 10 minutes, and I can leave 10 minutes early on the back end, and then the emergency comes 5 minutes after they walk out the door, and it's partly their responsibility to handle the emergency. So until you say something to that individual that it's your choice to come in 10 minutes early, but we need you here at the, at till 5 o'clock, I need you here at 5 o'clock. So if you can pull this individual to the side and say, hey, when we have a meeting, I would just appreciate it because my time is valuable. I would appreciate it if we could start on time. And I don't think there's anything wrong in that. Just keep the kindness and be nice. And if they continue to do that, I personally would see that as a sign of disrespect. But I think every person deserves the chance to, you can't defend what you're not aware of. So I would make them aware of how them being late is affecting your schedule. So and every person, I believe, deserves that chance. You can't, because the individual is going to keep it up because you're not saying anything. They're not mind readers. They don't know that, it's interfering with, your schedule and whatnot. But if you say something to them and, like I said, with respect, with kindness, I think it's all in the approach. It's not what you say, it's how you say it. And so it's how you're going to present it to them. Now, if it's you and other people in that meeting, you and four other people, it's also probably not the wisest thing to do to, collaborate with them four people to ask them, have you noticed that so and so is late? But if the opportunity presents itself and you hear someone else speak to that lateness, I would say something But even if there were other people, whether it's affecting their schedule or not, it's affecting yours. You need to set that boundary there. Otherwise, it's just going to continuously happen. And then one of the other people might be like, whoa, well, he comes 10 minutes late all the time. Hey, it doesn't matter if I'm not on time. Before you know it, you have a whole group of people that are showing up late because nothing has been said. Another thing that's helpful is if you're meeting with a group that you meet with on a regular basis, set the boundaries in the beginning. We would like confidentiality. We want to be respectful of other people's time. So we ask that you be on time. If you know that you're not going to be on time, could you shoot a message or something? And when you enter the meeting, please don't disrupt what is going on. And no, we're not going to restart the meeting. We'll let you know what you missed. You know what I'm saying? So that is how I would handle that. And just if they don't know how it affects your schedule, they're not going to know how it affects your schedule. And I hope that was a good answer. Um, I think the hardest thing was being grateful that I was essential, but living in fear and working as hard as I could just in case. And I knew, or I know my child probably suffered, and trying to work towards balance again. It still feels like an uphill battle. What I would say to that is, if you have a job that will allow you to incorporate your child's schedule into your work schedule, meaning I know a few jobs allow for the people to bring their children to the job. Now, this is now, not when we were in the middle of the, whole, everybody was losing their minds. I don't want you to touch me. Everybody was wearing gloves and things like that. But I would have stated, once you being an essential, I don't mind being an essential. I will be here, but I have a child that's at home by themselves. So is it okay for me periodically throughout the day to go home and check on my child? Can I FaceTime with my child if I have to be here, instead of coming back and forth because people were phobic about, you left the environment and then you came back? Is it okay that I FaceTime periodically throughout the day with my child? Having eyes on your child during a pandemic, I think, is very important. So it would be having that conversation with your child, explaining, number one, if they were old enough to understand that you were an essential. If you had a spouse that wasn't there to help, then that conversation looked like you were going to have it with your supervisor. But it's setting the boundary with your job as well. Yes, you need the job, but everybody, it wasn't just you as one person. Everybody with the children were going through the same thing. Some parents didn't know how to do math. Some parents, unfortunately, didn't even know how to read, and they were expected to do some of these lessons with their children. So I think at that point, when we were in the middle of the pandemic, it was very important to set the boundary by letting your supervisor know, yes, I can be here. Yes, I understand that my position is essential, but my job as a parent, and I have a child at home. I'm a single parent. I have a child at home that does not have a dad. It's essential for me to be there for her too, because half the children didn't even understand what was going on. And children need socialization. So now I'm not at school. My mom has to be at work. That was like walking a tightrope. So it was up to us to state what our needs were as well as an essential worker. I love my job, but my first priority is to my child that's sitting at home and doesn't even know what a COVID pandemic is all about. So tenderly and respectfully owning the fact that I'm a mother too. If there's any part of this job that I can do from home, can I do that part from home? And the other part that you need me here for, I'll be here for. So it almost looked like hybrid working as well, So because essentially, if we look at the essential piece, essentially You need to be at home with your child, because if something happens to her, you're going to essentially be pissed off at that job. So it was finding the balance and letting them know what you need in order to set that boundary with them as well. And I hope there weren't any employers out there that weren't understanding of that, because we didn't get to prepare for COVID. We were in it. I didn't even believe, like I said, it was real, until my children, grown children, adult children, were dropping groceries off in my car because they didn't want me to leave the house. So it was very real. With the uphill battle now, I would say I'm hoping that some of the schools are in, um, or the majority of the schools are in, and continuously talking through what they just went through, continuously sharing with them how they, even though they're not in a high risk group, how they can do the little things. Remind them to sanitize, remind them to wear their mask when necessary, remind them to ask, do you all wear masks at home? So it's the little things of reminding them of how to protect themselves and respecting other children's boundaries as well. And being very thankful that children aren't at a higher risk like the adults are. But it's going to be an uphill climb for all the essential workers. But just being hands on and spending that quality time when you have that time with your child, by doing as much as you can, is how I would answer that. Um, Doing Zoom for meetings has made it so easy for people to just cancel 2 minutes before versus a day or hours before because they didn't physically have to be there. Set that boundary, whether it is via virtual or in person. Your time is valuable. And by stating that you respect your time, you're letting them know that you respect their time. I understand that, these are difficult times for us. And now that the majority of our meetings are virtual, um, can I get some notice? And if it's one person, fine. If it's 15, 20, um, I think if you are not the head of that meeting, I would try to have a sidebar with the person that's in charge of that meeting and just say, hey, I know that these are times that we're meeting virtually, but it would be very beneficial to me and my schedule if we can start on time. Again, setting those clear ground rules, group rules, when you get the notification that there's going to be a meeting, these are the rules. Can everybody be on time? Confidentiality will give you, there'll be a 2 minute grace period. If you're not in by 6:02 or 5:02, we're just going to start. You can get notes, just come in, try not to disrupt what's happening. Whatever piece it is that you miss, you can inbox, someone, or inbox me on the tail end and get that information. Because for the people that are notoriously late and you allow them to do that, you allow them to set your schedule. You allow them to set your day. You allow them to set the pace. And for the other, if you have 5 people that are on time and you have 3 that are not on time, those 3 will control them 5. He who controls the narrative controls the room. So if you're setting up a group and you're inviting people and you're the head of that group, if you control the narrative, you'll set the rules for that group and then you'll control that group. So, any more questions? Let me see. Well, I guess at this point, I thank you so much. We got done a little early, but I would love to dialogue with you. So you can unmute and we can talk back and forth. And I would like for you to share, and you can do, I guess, an evaluation with Brian, but I would like to know if there were some pieces of this workshop that were helpful, if it was some things that I could change, just feel free. Unmute.
I know for me, can you hear me?
Yes.
I really wish this would have come out months ago. Like, I struggle with the same thing of people in meetings and thinking that they don't need to. It kind of just now pops up as you're supposed to be in a meeting, and I plan my whole day around. I'm like you, where I look the day before of what I have going on, and then we have this reoccurring meeting every Thursday, and then all of a sudden 5 minutes before we'll be like, let's meet next week. And it's like, I took my lunch early, I planned this, I did this. That's been frustrating. And then also it was me of the it's been a struggle trying to find that balance again between trying to be a mom, working two jobs, and staying working because you're so worried if the bottom falls out, and also coming home and being that I had a horrible day and my poor child's been at home all day. So it's been a hard reflection to hear it, but yeah, I really wish this would have come out a while ago, but I'm happy to have it now.
Thank you. And I'm here to help. You can call me. I'm a great listener. I mean, I think that I'm a pretty good mentor. But just feel free to call me. I mean, it doesn't stop here. It's not like you're going to wake up tomorrow. Whew, I had that self-care workshop. I'm ready to roll. It's not going to happen like that. It's going to take practice. It's going to take practice of all of this. And if you want me to send you the actual, if you want me to send you the outline that I went by, I can email it to you in PDF form. But honestly, it's not going to happen. But if you just can start taking baby steps with the areas that are priority in your life, to get a little bit of balance each day in each area, because you know better than me the areas that you allow people to just slay you. And if you can just start with being precise, clear, but nice, nice. I got called this morning, 8 o'clock. Miss Kathy, we want you to come to a meeting downtown. It starts at 8:15, and we want you to explain about your nonprofit. I'm not gonna make that meeting. No, and no, but you can put me on the calendar for next month. No explanation. No, you didn't contact me too late. No, I'm unavailable, but you can put me on the calendar for next month. Now, before I learned this, I'd have been like, okay, I'm gonna be about 10 minutes late. I won't be there at 8:15, but I'll be there at 8:25. It's got to start somewhere, and we are going to encounter hard things. And we can get past the hard things if we are equipped on how to take care of ourselves. So some of what we bring on ourselves is hard, but you've got tools to help you through it. And sometimes it's a matter of not reacting. It's just stop, think, and act. You don't have to react. It's your response. Okay, Natalie, your hand's up. I hope that helped.
I'm sorry about that. That was an accident.
No,
Okay.
Okay.
But I will say something though. I just wanted to say thank you. And Nicole, what you just said was amazing. I agree with that. I don't have kids, but just knowing you personally. And I think through everything you just said, Miss Kathy, balance, it was just like, okay, so everything you just said, how you find that balance. And the main thing I got was the communication aspect, communicating my needs and doing that kindly, respectfully. And I hope that person will also feel comfortable enough to, communicate their needs to me, so there is that balance. And that's what I learned through this whole thing was I need to communicate that in order to get this balance.
Yes.
I don't know how to get rid of this thing.
Thank you. Thank you. I really hope that, like I said, I hope what I shared just really resonates in your spirit, and again, I'm available and I can send these tips to you because, you know, if you're willing to do the work, it will work for you. These are times where people want the microwave fix. I want it now, and all that. They don't care. There's people, you can be standing in line that will go to the front. I just have a quick question. No, you're going to go back to the line. And because I have a quick question too, and I've been standing in this line 10 minutes. You know what I'm saying? And I don't say that to people, but I notice when a customer service rep will say, you are a value customer, but there's people that have been waiting in the line as well. You'll have to go back to the back of the line. You can't answer my question. No, I can't, because there's a line, and we do value you as a customer. You have to do the same in your life. You know, people can't expect you to just drop everything. Me. And they will do it until you stop. You know, one thing I'll say quick is our world is made up of givers and takers. Okay. And I promise you, a taker is going to take until you have nothing left to give. They're good at what they do. So you have to decide what percentage of you, your mental, your physical, your spiritual, and emotional, how much are you going to allow other people to take of that portion and those parts of you, because they're never going to stop taking, because they're going to take until you have nothing left to give. And so when you set that boundary, they're not going to stop taking. They're going to go to the next person on their list, and they're going to see what they can take from them. And that might just be time, might be space, might be anything. And I'm not talking about taking in the sense of they're going to steal from you. They're going to take as much as you allow them to take of you until you set that boundary. And it's never going to feel good. And they're going to probably be offended depending on who they are in the theater of your life, because your front row people are going to know you. And so when you say or set that boundary, they're going to be like, okay, she really needs that time and she really needs that space. They're not going to question you. So they will undoubtedly, once a taker, can a taker become a giver? Yep, after a lot of self-reflection. But if they are a taker, they're going to move on to the next person. And I would just implore you to remember that. Because people are all about, not all people, but people want what they want when they want it. And you are the only one that can set that boundary. If you allow them to get used to dropping everything, every time they need something, they're going to call you. I know she going to drop it. She going to stop what she's doing and she's going to come. And this is a huge thing that's going on right now with people. We are not respectable, and we are not accepting of people's no, their time, their space. They want what they want. So in order for you to take care of you, you have to take care of you.
Miss Kathy, I know we're running low on time, but I'm kind of interested in hearing your perspective on something. I know that probably since March of last year, probably more summertime, but I am still coping with this idea of like survivor's guilt. So for me, at least, I was very lucky that I got to move all of my work home. I live at home with I don't have a partner, I don't have a spouse, I don't have any kids, I don't have any pets. And I kept my job the entire time, and I watched people around me lose their jobs, lose family members, lose their livelihood, worry about food insecurity, housing insecurity, all of that. And I felt as though I was sitting pretty, and I still haven't been able to sort of shake that feeling of like, okay, so why me? I was able to live this cushy lifestyle for the most part. I mean, my biggest issue is I gained a little bit of weight sitting at home, but I mean, that's not the worst thing that could happen in the world. So is there a way, or have you found any tools or any resources that have worked best for you with kind of rectifying your own, or at least reconciling your differences with that sort of weird feeling of like, okay, so why am I special, or why was I able to make this through when so many people had it way, way worse than I did?
What worked for me, Miles, is I donated in areas that I thought would help the people. I don't know if you remember, but for Thanksgiving, I cooked for everybody that wanted food. So, for people that couldn't make it home, for people who did not have food, for people that just were so depressed, they didn't want to cook. And I didn't cook little plates, I sent platters. I went through my closet and I went through things that I hadn't worn in 2 years. I took them down and donated them to Grace's Place. I sent out an all out message on Facebook. Whoever doesn't have money to cook, uh, or whoever didn't have money to buy their children Christmas gifts, I don't need your name. Send me, I need your name, but it didn't have to be public. Get in my inbox and send me your list, and I will get what I can off that list. And I asked people, if it was a list that was too big, would you help me with this list? So I don't know that you ever get over survivor's guilt after something like this, because I don't know that it was that you were sitting cushy, but you just saw the world around you just crumbling. So you find a piece of that crumble and see what you can do. And I try to tell people, don't think that what you're doing is too small and it won't make a difference, because it will. I had people bring over and drop off gloves. I took those down to the warming center. In all areas, the biggest areas that I saw there was a need was the children, food. You had middle-class families that were in the line, for free food. I'll never forget, I was driving down Huff Street and the line was it Huff? No, it wasn't Huff Street. It was Sarnia. And the line was all the way from Franklin all the way back to Huff Street. And I'm like, what are these people in this line for? And it dawned on me, they're giving away free food today. Immediately, I just stopped and said, Lord, thank you for allowing me not to be in that line, but bless everybody that's in that line. So you don't have to go out and do a real rah, rah, rah. You know what I'm saying? You can go out, find a family. So just little areas, like I saw a lady walking down the street. Her shoes were like talking in the back, so they were separated. So I left immediately, went to asked her, had somebody else ask her size, and went and bought her some shoes. So I would say, for me, see a need and meet it. I was in, Walgreens, and it was a guy, he couldn't get his EBT card to work. You know what I'm saying? Step up there. Hey, can I get that? Now, not everybody is in that position, but if you are in that position and you see a need, meet it. And it's the little things, getting in the coffee line, paying for the coffee in the car behind you, and these are all acts of love that I was, experienced myself. So I would just say, if you see a need and you can meet it, meet that need. Because in all actuality, Miles, you're not really privileged, and you're not really in a cushy position. Your position is just one of those positions that wasn't eliminated, because I say we are all one paycheck away from being broke, and the pandemic can prove that. So in any area that you can help, somebody might need a help with a resume. If you know how to do resumes, can I help you with your resume? So it doesn't always have to be bright lights, and bougie and things like that. It can be the smallest of things, but if you can help and you are gifted in certain areas, see a need, meet it. Yeah. For me, it was taking my puppy over to my friend's daughter. See a need, meet it, because it helped her with her mental health. So it's little things. It's not even big things.
I'm not even going to deny that was me. Like, my daughter did so much. She did. She finally felt that need of, like, I have a job, I have a responsibility. she looked forward to it. I mean, she was texting us of, is Mocha coming tomorrow? Because, you know, I'm supposed to watch him, you know, and I would forget, but for her, that filled so much purpose for her, and she needed it so badly, like
Yeah.
so badly.
Yeah. Yeah, so, you know, and like I said, you can reach me. The majority of you know how to contact me. But yeah, you know, if you are gifted in an area, you know, share it, because I'm not sure that you all know, I just started budgeting your way to good credit classes. And I want you to come speak to people that can't even see their way into a house. You know what I'm saying? A realtor has volunteered to come down and show them how to go from housing to home ownership and loans that they qualify for. So just share your gifting with people is just giving, you know. So yeah, whatever it is that you can do, what see a need and meet it is all I would say. Yeah. Oh, I appreciate you all so much. Thank you. Mhm.
Yeah, and thanks, Kathy, for the, I mean, just the brilliance and the wisdom and the insight. And it's just, I mean, you've got like another kind of 20 workshops and some of these insights that were coming out. So, and it's just, I just so appreciate you offering your skills and your expertise. And thanks to everybody for all of your time and energy and spirit and presence in the room tonight. Yeah, Kathy, as you mentioned, it sounds like a lot of folks do have the ability to get a hold of you. I am going to put, just to make sure you're able to capture everybody's contact info, I'm going to put a link in the chat. That's our brief checkout form for this series. This is the last workshop in this series, but feedback is really helpful because we may start this at any time. So just to maybe be doubly sure that Kathy has your contact info, that's a place to fill it out. And leave it there. And I think I don't have anything else to share other than that, Kathy. So I don't know if I just want, we can just turn it over back to you to close for the evening.
Okay. Well, I just want to thank all of you for your time. I want to thank you for your feedback. I want to thank you for sharing. And if it's anything that I can do, I'm here, and just thank you. I'm just overwhelmed with joy. You know, I just am. Thank you so much, Brian. Thank you. I would like to introduce Brian to everybody. He's with Engage Winona, and Brian and his organization was totally instrumental in me being able to start my nonprofit. So very, very positive, uplifting, and is vested in the Winona community. So yeah, thank you too, Brian. And thank
Yeah,
all.
thanks. Yeah, thanks, Kathy. Yeah, and you're doing the work, and we're here to provide the support. And I think as you framed it when we talked this week of, you know, just kind of being there to walk alongside folks as they're looking for support for community change. So I appreciate that. And actually, you know, now that you mentioned that, Kathy is part of the Lived Experience Leaders program. We're closing our first cohort this Saturday, actually, with a celebration, and we're going to be telling some stories about all these amazing folks. Our plan, at least for now, is to start our second cohort this summer and fall. And so we don't have any information out on it yet, but if folks here tonight are interested in that, if there are people in your networks you think might be interested, on our website on that project page, there's a place to sign up just to leave your email so we can be in touch with folks when we start to have info ready this summer. So I'll also just put our website in there for folks to check that out if that's something you're interested in. So, and Kathy, Kathy is just the kind of the rock star gold participant in that program too, and I think part of that just on full display here tonight. So thanks to Kathy, thanks to everyone. Fill out that form just to make sure Kathy has your contact info, and I'll be sharing that with her. We just appreciate all the time and energy, and enjoy the rest of the evening, everyone.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Good night.
Kathy.
Thank you, Kathy.
You're welcome. Thank you.